What's up, everybody? How are you all doing? I've been reliably informed that today is Wednesday, so it is indeed Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, gaming, and grub. Happy early Thanksgiving to you guys if you celebrate. I'm, of course, your host, Steven, aka Midnight Hatter, and joining me, as always, is Adam Blue. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I always like these the Thanksgiving week because it's just different from everything. It's like an alternate reality for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm so excited for today's show because it's something different. It's just like a little fun, speculative,
Yeah.
we tend to do this anyway when we're just talking, like we'll start speculating on random stuff. Which, speaking of, there's another topic that I want to talk about at some point because it came up on Discord, but I'm going to keep that one secret.
Okay.
Today we're going to keep it fun. But yes, today's episode is, of course, brought to you by you. In particular, today's episode is sponsored by Dan Vince, Patreon member for a long time, and everyone go ahead and wish Dan Vince the first happy Thanksgiving as a dad. He just had his first baby this year. So, welcome to the club, sir, and I hope that the little one gets to try a little turkey tomorrow. No, they're probably way too young
probably.
for that.
Unless you like blend it up, but then maybe at that age they shouldn't be taking in I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I only had 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really get into a groove until you hit like 4. I think it's...
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the first one you're always worried about. The second one you're less so. By the third one, you're letting them eat dirt. Just
exactly
just
right.
Time pass.
I saw one of those Instagram reels that I sent to my wife because it was like the first child, it's like, oh, I'm gonna grab the dishes, and the spouse is like, oh no, babe, I was gonna do the dishes, and it's like, oh, we'll do the dishes together, and then the middle child, it's like, aren't paper plates the best? And they just like throw shit on the floor, and they're like, oh, the dog will get it. Who cares? I don't. And then, of course, like the youngest child is the who's gonna do the dishes, not it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So absolutely, I can definitely relate to being that middle child because clearly I am using a plastic cup to drink my water, and I have a dog that cleans up after my little one. So,
well, there you go.
But yeah, like I said, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep shouting out Patreon members and supporters of the channel because you guys make this show happen.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of course, the other thing that makes this show happen is when I stumble into goofy topics on Twitter.
So, I thought you were talking about having a working camera and mic, but
that helps.
Goofy topics on Twitter are probably right below that.
Right. I need the camera, mic, and then Twitter because that's the perfect content farm for me. It's so funny because my family's doing this Secret Santa type giveaway this year, cool. And we're using Elfster. I don't know if you're familiar with this platform. No. Elfster's kind of neat because you can build a Secret Santa. You put in however many people are participating, and it randomizes it. And so you get a random person to give your gift to, right? But you can also create wish lists in there. And the wish lists, this is such a brilliant monetization model. I was telling my wife about it because I was like, you realize why they let you build a wish list on Elfster, right? And she was like, no, I don't get it. And it's like, because they have affiliate links on Amazon. So when you search on Elfster and you say, oh, this is what I want, and you put that in your wish list, when your Secret Santa goes and buys it, Elfster gets kickback.
Big brain.
Big brain marketing indeed. Yeah. So I'm like trying to fill out my wish list, and I'm like, do I put Gunpla on there? Like, am I gonna feel guilty? I'm like the 40-year-old guy that's like, can I please have a Zaku 2 F2? But yeah, and so my wife was like, well, is there anything else you need for streaming? Like a new webcam, a new microphone? You could put something like that. And I was like, yeah, I just buy those things.
Yeah, you make a good point. It is kind of hard when people are like, what should someone get me? And it's like, that's why I've appreciated clothes because it's like, I'm not really buying myself clothes. So when people, it's like, okay, I can get a $30 shirt, but I can spend $100 on a Robot Spirits action figure. you know,
Exactly.
and so I tend to go without new clothes, and then, my wife will be like, "Oh, here's a shirt." "Oh, thank you."
Thank God, because this one has a huge hole in it. It's like
But literally yesterday, my wife got me a shirt for Thanksgiving, so
that's
I'm gonna
wonderful.
have a shirt.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about being married to my wife is that her birthday is always well, it's not always the same day as Thanksgiving, but it's always Thanksgiving week. So this year
Oh.
it's Friday. Last year it was actually on Thanksgiving. So so I can never forget her birthday. Like I
Yeah,
know
you
that I
just
have to have something by Thanksgiving.
and it's easy because he can just be like, "Here's a Thanksgiving dinner. Happy birthday." It
Hatter
makes it so
provides.
easy.
But yeah, so yeah, Secret Santa stuff aside, that would be something we should talk about doing, for the Patreons, for the Discord people. That might be something that we could do because obviously Elfster's a good app for that. So remind me
Yeah,
to
when you brought that
look
up
into putting something together.
yeah, when you brought that up, I was like, "Oh, that's what I should do." Because last year I was gonna start one, and then I realized, wow, this is a big undertaking. And
Hmm.
then this year, me and Ashley, the social media manager, we were discussing it, and I think we came to the same conclusion. It's like we need a way to manage this, but so I'll have to check out the Selfster.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I'll
probably
send
good.
you a link afterwards.
Cool.
But oh yeah, and I mean, I can't believe I forgot to mention, guys, if you haven't, after the stream, go check out Adam's video
Oh,
today on the
yeah.
Alice system. You have no idea how much I love Gundam Sentinel, so
Oh, yeah. That
it's
seems to be, you know what? A proper, real UC elitist tends to have Sentinel up at the high ranks, I've noticed. Yeah.
yeah, which is funny because, there's for as much as you see grognards complain about like Thunderbolt and the origin, they're like, that breaks the technology, timeline. This doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, but if you look at Gundam Sentinel, they've got like fully fledged AI and the most insane Zeta variants possible. Like the S Gundam is just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Because you have the double Zeta, which you and I have kind of talked about, like it is like the ultimate form of a Gundam, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the S Gundam, which is like
Which sometimes, yeah, it makes me think maybe that really is.
right, like the S Gundam is like the Myco Hearn or Liver King version of the double Zeta. It's
If
like
that's a
the
sports
double Zeta
reference.
on on steroids, basically.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that's a sports reference. I don't know. Although I got to say, I don't know if if this was a few minutes ago, so you might have forgotten right now. That voice you were doing, the toxic fanboy voice, was really good. It sounded like if Emmett Brown shrunk himself and was complaining. I don't know what.
Well, I've just gotten very good at that voice because that's basically how I imagine myself talking every time I'm tweeting. It's just,
Okay.
gosh darn it, you better not cast Timothy Oliphant in or no, not Timothy Oliphant, Timothy Chalamet. If Timothy Chalamet's in the Gundam movie, I swear I'm gonna get so mad.
Hey, Timothy Oliphant, great actor. He could be Slegger Law.
That's a good casting right there. Mm-mm-mm. We need to
Maybe.
revisit that video where
Yes.
we did the
Yeah.
fan casting of the Gundam movie because I bet next year when they start like announcing some
I
potential cast
I
members,
hope
we're gonna be
so.
like, okay, who did we predict? And
Yeah. Not only should we revisit it, but we should also update based on, okay, who's hot now? And then, yeah.
yeah. But speaking of Twitter drama, let me go ahead and hop into the screen share here because I need to
Cool.
share with you guys the tweet that inspired today's video, stream, show, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
So this was something funny to me because, we often talk about, different types of lore and mobile suits and stuff in Gundam, but we don't talk about the food quite as much as we probably should because, it's Thanksgiving and theoretically the white base was in North America during Thanksgiving. I think they
Oh.
hadn't returned to space yet. I think that they returned to space in December. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, if you're wrong, you're gonna be corrected.
Yeah.
It's the nature of things.
And so yeah, I saw this tweet that was hilarious because it is Amuro's lunch from episode 16 of Mobile Suit Gundam, and it consists of an apple, a boiled egg in lettuce leaf, a tomato question mark because we can't really tell if it's just 2 apples or maybe a tomato or maybe it's 2 tomatoes and
Yeah.
you get the shapeless gray mass, my personal favorite. What looks to be lentil soup or some scary colored tea, and 3 slices of bread. And no salt because this is the episode where they ran out of salt. And the chef is complaining to Commander Bright and
All right. Hey, I gotta say, as someone that I'm conscious of eating healthy, like, I now have this thing where when I see healthy food, it's more appetizing. That seems like a good meal to have if you're on a ship. Like, you're getting your different food groups in, right? I mean,
yeah,
depending on what that gray mass is, it could be okay, so he's got the lettuce and the egg. That gray mass could be like, spinach.
maybe it could be yeah, either like a spinach or a kale that's just off colored.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it could be black pudding if you're familiar with like
Oh, yeah.
British cuisine. But yeah, that green tea there looks a little funky. I probably wouldn't go for that myself. Um, but yeah, it looks a little light on protein because only a single egg.
Yeah, that's
Now
true,
what's
but
oh go ahead.
fiber,
Oh yeah,
at least a lot
lots
of
of
fibers.
fiber, lots of carbs here.
Yeah, and it's probably the good carbs. Well, back in the day, maybe in '79, bread was a little healthier, but this is technically,
Yeah,
far in the future. So is it like super, super, super processed stuff? Do they 3D print some of it?
that's a good question. Well, and it's like yeah, everything has to be super shelf stable, right? Because like
Yeah.
you can't possibly have refrigerators and like extra food storage on board a ship like the White Base. So like everything has to be either super fresh or super shelf stable processed. So I imagine that that's probably like, I mean, it does look like maybe it's a wheat bread, but it's like honey wheat. It's like a
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It kinda has enough of the brown in it to be a honey wheat.
Yeah,
Very,
it's
very
it's
little
not quite
change.
Wonder Bread, but it's
Yeah.
definitely super starchy. And I already see that the chat is bringing up burgers, and I'm glad because obviously, we have to talk about McDaniel's, everyone's favorite in-universe franchise. Which I'll never get over the fact that where uh, that's where the AU like secret meetings were held was at the McDaniel's in Von Braun City. It's like it reminds me of that scene in Demolition Man when the politician's life is saved and he goes to Sylvester Stallone and he's like, I would like to invite you to join me for dinner at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, everything is Taco Bell, isn't that what it is?
yeah, like they won the franchise wars,
Or is
which
yeah.
that's such a cool concept. Like
Yeah.
I hate the idea of like sequels, prequels, and remakes and stuff like that. But if we ever got like a prequel sequel of Demolition Man, I hope that they explain the franchise wars and like
And you know what they could do? They could do it where they had to unfreeze Sylvester Stallone, but in order for him to survive another deep sleep, they have to erase his memory of that time. So that could still allow the sequel or, movie to exist. And they could de-age him, they got the technology.
yeah, I mean, I didn't see the new Indiana Jones, but I hear at least if the story wasn't good, that the de aging process on Harrison Ford looked good. Was that
Yeah, what from I haven't seen it either, which is weird. And it's like, I guess I am part of the problem, but, it from what I understood and from what I even saw from clips, there were some times where it was on point and amazing, and then there's some times where it just looked odd, like, well, there's something wrong here. So,
yeah? It's because the AI wasn't there yet.
yeah, yeah, exactly. They didn't run it through Chat GPT.
But yes, burgers are a mainstay of the White
Yeah.
Base and the Argama. Bright is constantly eating burgers. Slegger eats burgers from time to time. But I've never once seen a cow in Gundam. Have you?
Oh, good question.
Are these, speaking of Demolition Man, are these rat burgers? Are they bug burgers? Like,
You know what?
what's
The closest thing could be monkey. There's that
really?
scene in Zeta where Camille's in his Zeta looking at a monkey, and then you see it get blown up. I always thought that was the most random scene.
Well, like I said, animation is a deliberate and visual medium, and you don't draw something if you don't have to, and
Exactly.
therefore, that monkey is representative of something, and you better stay tuned because when we get to that episode in Dissecting Gundam,
Oh,
we're gonna unpack and get real,
let's do it.
um yeah, we'll get real literal about it. But yeah, I mean, it's, the the fact that, literally Bright was eating a burger while the chef was complaining about running out of salt, it's like, what was Bright not did he not taste the fact that the burger was underseasoned? I don't it's
And salt's one of those things where I feel like 50% of the population that eats wouldn't notice if something has salt or not. I really feel
no.
like it's 50-50. There's just those people that complain about something being too salty or not enough salt, and then there's other people that they never say anything.
But, like, it's an important nutrient. Like, a lot of people, obviously you want a low sodium diet for
Yeah.
blood pressure reasons, cholesterol, all that, whatever. But salt actually is important in the human diet because it keeps your electrolytes up. It
Yep.
actually stimulates brain activity. So people who suffer from like neurological issues, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, that type of stuff,
Mm.
salt is actually more important for their diet than people who are quote unquote healthy. So running out of salt on a spaceship is actually a serious deal, especially when you're talking about like for pilots, people that are going to have to rely on their eyesight. You don't want somebody underseasoned out there.
Okay, yeah, we don't want them underseasoned. You Ultronimous is saying, "Wait, what if the AUG and the Federation are really sponsored by McDaniels?" And the first thing that came to my mind would be, yeah, the Zeta having on the shoulder like a McDaniels decal. Like, and it could make sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be like NASCAR, right? Like you have
Yeah.
all these different sponsors.
That you know what? That's very interesting you brought that up because when I first got into Gundam, one of the visual things for me that I loved was that look, where they gave mobile suits that look, although it's as if it's like a sponsored race car or something. And I feel
Yeah,
like that's kind of a unique thing about it because it almost informs the rest of the universe. Like y- y- like if McDaniels was on something, it's not like McDaniels has to be the center of the plot
right.
like it isn't in Zeta, but it kinda is. It's just the
There's
store's
something
not
there.
like, "Oh, who's the CEO of McDaniels? Oh, is he in on something?" No, 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 it's just that's where they happen to do a lot of dealings, so
Right. Yeah, it's like if you own a franchise of something, then like that's where you're gonna go eat,
yeah.
Like yeah, I think that people who own hotel chains and stuff like that, obviously if you work for Hilton, you stay at Hilton family of hotels.
Yeah.
Just makes sense.
So,
Um
I could then see so do you think then it could be that these burgers they have are like their stock of McDaniels that were given to them?
That would actually make a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
if they're just like those packaged, like the ones in plastic that you can get like on trains and planes that they just stuff in the microwave.
Oh, or like in Back to the Future,
The
too.
dehydrator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be that. Just trying to think of the technology to store the food
Yeah,
during that time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said, it all has to be shelf stable stuff. Like you can't
Yeah.
get fresh food on board the ship. So
Unless they had some sort of Uber and someone was flying in on wha a petite mobile suit or something, and he had his delivery for
yeah,
them.
can you imagine like being a dasher in the Gundam universe? You're just like,
Dodging laser fire as you're like, "Whoa, gotta get this burger to them."
are you kidding me? A 3 credit tip? Like,
No,
um,
that's where they would have the real new types.
oh
You
yeah,
know, they're dashing, they're avoiding all the laser beams. Yeah.
exactly. That's how you pick up the extra shifts. So this looks like a pilot meal from Gundam as well. There's a little bit of milk and coffee. You know what? This is actually from Zeta. You can tell because the milk is AUG sponsored.
Yeah.
I don't
That
know why AUG has their own brand of milk, but there you go.
mm,
I'm not sure what that bowl of stuff is there. It could be
it almost
pudding,
looks like
grits,
hummus.
hummus.
Yeah, it almost looks like
Uh,
hummus because of the stuff on top too.
I mean, again, this looks like a pretty well-balanced meal. You've got some
Yeah.
lettuce there, some greens, maybe some cherry tomatoes. I don't know if that's like a slice of tofu that's been grilled up and served along with it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm not
Hmm.
sure what that thing is towards the back. Maybe it looks like a crescent roll or a
Yeah,
baguette.
that was my first thought. It was just super dark colored,
Mhm.
which is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with dark color. I just wanna get ahead of I wanna get ahead of that.
Right.
No.
Clip that.
Um,
But yeah, and again, caffeine seems to be a big thing in the Gundam universe,
and
obviously.
and did you hear that little factoid about the time that the United States was kind of first, like, founded and being colonized? They introduced caffeine, and that led to the Industrial Revolution. Did you hear that fact
Yeah, well,
before?
I mean, I think that
Yeah.
even just in the Revolutionary War, the idea of like coffee being a substitute for tea was like a big thing, like Americans versus Britain. Obviously, they didn't they
Ah.
lost their access to tea during the Revolutionary War. But no, I mean that's there's so many of those like fascinating military history facts. Like the is it General Santa Anna basically invented chewing gum?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So like during the Mexican American War, his soldiers were out there like chewing on trees. I think it was tree sap was the original.
Yeah. Yeah, something
Um,
like that, yeah, and that yeah, that's
and at some point we got to talk about the history of the Tootsie Roll, right? That was like a World War II thing.
oh,
Um,
it sounds familiar. Yeah, we might
yeah,
have to
Tootsie
talk about
Rolls were included in like U.S. rations.
oh, wow. But I guess going back to it, I guess, it's interesting. I would think, coffee's just one of those things that might be timeless. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I feel like in the future, I could still see people getting their caffeine that way. Um,
Yeah, it's
there's a habit sort of layer to getting your caffeine, kinda having that coffee either with your meal or while you're in the morning, you're waking up, you know?
I think it's the same with like cigarettes. Is like
Oh, yeah.
no matter how many nicotine and tobacco alternatives come out on the market, there's something um physical about, and maybe it's like the oral fixation, maybe it's something like that, but there's something about the ritual of smoking a cigarette or smoking a cigar that just can't be replaced. And I think it's the
Yeah.
same with coffee, just a warm beverage.
Yeah, I gotta say an edible is not the same as a bong hit, but, you know,
That's
one's
right.
safer than the other.
So and again, this came up because as I was going through episode 6 of Dissecting Gundam and recording it, there's a scene in which Amuro's in the middle of fighting against Garma's men, and Fraubo is trying to help him, and she says, "Here, drink this. It's a nutrition drink," which just kind of cracks me up because it's like I imagine it's like one of those like Boost or Ensure like
Oh,
adult
yeah.
nutrition drinks that like old people have to do to overcome vitamin deficiencies. And like, can you just imagine? Oh man, I just got out of a fight and I'm just gonna slug back this like chocolate shake, and then immediately get back in the Gundam and go out and fight some more. Um,
Although I like that it's Frau. I can see her being like, "Let's make sure we get Amuro nutrition." Like,
yes,
that seems like the thing she would do.
yeah, it's such a I think it's such an understated gesture, and you even see by the end of the episode like how appreciative Amuro is that she's doing what she can. It's like, oh, I know that you're not about to get in the gun tank and go fight, so like I appreciate the small things that you're doing to keep me from going insane.
It's crazy because both Original Gundam and Zeta, there's this interest, friendship that the main character has, and they're never, like, super good to them, you know? Even
Yeah,
though it's like,
that's a
"Dude, that's a catch. You're gonna regret it."
right. Like here she is. She's making you the sandwich, and you're But by the end of the episode, it's interesting because you have is it Kotz, Let's, and
Oh,
what's the girl's name?
Kika?
Kika? Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
So
Kika,
Kika,
yeah.
Kotz, and Let's run to celebrate the victory in battle, and they baked a celebration pie for Amuro.
Hmm, a
How thoughtful.
celebration pie,
Now, I don't know what went into this pie because I don't imagine that they had canned fruit on board the white base at the time.
and it's these 3, like, toddlers making it?
Right.
So, a celebration, they could be throwing confetti and toys in there.
Yeah, maybe it's like, oh man, I often tell this joke, well, just joke, this story to my wife about when I was in college, and obviously I was under the influence, so to speak, and I forgot halfway through I was making a souffle. I forgot whether I was making a cheese or a chocolate souffle. So, yeah, if you've ever had a Parmesan crusted chocolate souffle, that's courtesy
That
of you,
sounds great,
yours truly. That sounds like something that they would make. It's-
but I would eat that.
no, no, it was disgusting.
Mm,
But the kids also did that. They hooked it up because they also brought champagne. God knows
wow.
why there was champagne aboard the White Base in the first place. Maybe they were planning on doing one of those like champagne bottle smashes on the ship
Maybe
as they introduced
departed.
it to the Navy.
Well, a couple problems there. Why is it not gone by then? You would think. And then the kids are just like randomly like, "Hey, here's champagne." They're like, "Hey, I'm Ro. I want some champagne." It's like,
Yeah, it's such a strange, and of course this is prior to them running out of salt. So clearly they did run out of champagne before they ran out of salt. Unfortunately, but yeah, that's there's so many mentions of food that kind of just get kind of, I don't know, glossed over. These are things that obviously th- th- we're having fun making memes here, but like this is actually something kind of interesting about these.
no, it is. It's part of the world, and it's like a lot of times when we're trying to um come up with our own reasoning for things or our own logic, sometimes we can look at those little details and that can kind of help give you a better understanding of what's going on, how the world works.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because this is a subject that you have actually tackled before on your channel. In fact, you went so much deeper into the lore that is conveyed through the food that's on display that maybe let's bring up our visual aid here.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's right.
So some folks will remember this scene from Gundam Unicorn, in which Maneva Zabi, or Audrey at the time, like she hasn't revealed her identity yet, is trying to decide what she's going to eat. Can you unpack this scene for us, Adam?
Yeah, she's actually speaking with Martha Vist, and I think Martha is trying to sway her into, like, "Don't worry about leading, you should settle with the boy, you should settle with Amuro." And then or not Amuro, Benager. And then while she's talking like that, we're just seeing Maneva look at her roast beef sandwich, and it's lingering on it. And it's like, okay, what are they trying to convey here? And then apparently she instead eats a hot dog. And like, so it seems like, again, they're using food to inform the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that there's probably some symbolism going on here. I couldn't venture to guess what exactly is going on, but I do think it's interesting. Even just this still, that's what the boy's become to you. The boy has become a roast beef sandwich. um, no,
Yeah, and so here's the thing, a lot of times I don't talk about this too much because it's like, okay, is that my own sick, twisted mind jumping to a conclusion? But no, it's too on the point. Like, that is such a detailed roast beef sandwich
yeah, it is.
in a specific way too.
Yep, it's a Georgia O'Keeffe roast beef sandwich.
Oh, very good.
um, but yeah, it's so and again, memes aside, like there is something to that because it's animation, because it
Yeah.
has to be drawn in there. I know that there's like stories about like Robert Downey Jr. is one of these actors who famously improvs stuff while he's acting,
Mm,
and he also likes to happen to keep snacks around set.
yeah.
Um, so like the whole scene in the Avengers where he's eating blueberries and stuff, like those were his blueberries that he brought to the set and was eating them during the take, and then he even like offers one to Mark Ruffalo's character, and it's like, all
That's
right, can I actually eat one of your blueberries? So but that's like something that an actor does just farting around. This there's a team of animators that's like, okay, I'm going to draw this sandwich. I'm going to draw 30 cells of this sandwich. You're going to draw 30 cells of the background so that we can.
And just like you've brought up, animation is deliberate. If they're gonna spend their time on this, they're gonna try to convey something specific.
Right. And can you imagine being the animation director watching this, like all the storyboards out, and you're like, I don't think I told you guys to do that. Like,
I wonder what that came from. Was it the well, I mean, to be hon when you're introducing food, there has to be a reason,
right.
right? Just like you talked about, there has to be a reason. I can see an actor in live action doing it as a means to ground himself as he is acting.
Hmm.
But in animation, it goes back to what you said, like, they deliberately picked this for the dialogue
Yeah, because they
that was
don't have
happening.
to.
Yeah,
I think a good example of like eating during a scene is in the third Lord of the Rings movie, which I know you
I haven't seen.
yeah, haven't seen it. So there's like a scene where the steward Denethor has sent his son out basically on a suicide mission. And so you're juxtaposing this scene of his son is going out to fight all of these orcs and likely get killed, and he's sitting there eating this meal. He's like tearing apart chicken bones, and there's like this one real visceral scene of him taking bites of tomatoes, just like tomato juice running down his chin, and there's
Oh,
like this
wow.
very implied sense of bloody like mastication going on, right?
Wow.
And so if we were to take that same type of cinematography and storytelling and apply it to a moment like this, what seems like you said, it seems like a joke, but it's like, no, there's actually something probably being said here in the subtext of what's not just the type of food being offered, but the person doing the offering.
Yeah,
Martha Vist, basically kind of offering one type of food and Maneva choosing another. There's something to be said there.
yeah.
So yeah, we can talk about roast beef all day, but
I gotta say, this is one of the most to me, one of the most amazing in terms of, like, it's, like, super obvious, but I would never have thought to convey, storytelling in that way.
mhm.
Um, but I think it also speaks to, and I know, I don't know, but, like, I know that you're not a big fan of Unicorn, but I feel like you're starting to see it's deeper than I think people ever really talk about it being.
Yeah, for
There's layers
sure.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in talking to you and to Talos is
Mhm.
I've come to appreciate a lot of the things about Unicorn that are callbacks to previous series, even in ways that we don't necessarily think of. I mentioned in one of the earliest episodes of Dissecting Gundam just the fact that at the beginning of Mobile Suit Gundam, there is the old man who is trying to return to Earth, and he was saying, he was telling Amuro, like, when I get home, I'm going to show my grandson the coffee plantation where my family grew up, and we're gonna stay on Earth and we're gonna make coffee, and that's our thing. And then in Unicorn, there's an old man who's running a coffee shop and offers a coffee to
Wow.
Mineva Zabi, and he says it's the least that he can do, being from the older generation, the least that he can do for someone from the younger generation. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what if that's the grandson?
Yeah, that's a good connection I never thought of. Um, hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, even no one thinks the same thing.
no one agrees with me. So, and I do want to point out that this is not something that, like, obviously, again, we can keep cracking jokes, but the fact that there are, the Gundam Cafe seeks to recreate some of these infamous meals from the series, it seems to indicate that there is an appreciation for this. Like, you don't see,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I guess technically there is a Star Wars cantina now, right? Like at Galaxy's Edge. Can you get blue
Yeah,
milk
that's
at Galaxy's Edge?
yeah, where they have kinda like the themed food and drinks. Yeah, it's
But,
it's a
but food isn't really featured as much in Star Wars as it is in Gundam.
yeah, that's
Not to
right.
this degree.
Exactly. And I you know what? You bring up a good point that I think is helping me sometimes even understand more of why I dislike, newer Star Wars or even big budget movies is a lot of times stories are grounding themselves in the mundane, and you can connect with that. If you remove that layer, it might be harder to take seriously any sort of unfolding of the plot.
Yeah.
Like in, the Star Wars sequel trilogies, there's not a lot of grounded stuff. Like two people sitting eating, you see what the food looks like while they're talking. That might be more engaging than how they cut from shot to shot of like an action scene.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that I think are supposed to represent the world, but they're very, I would say, kind of ham-fisted. Like the idea of like the casino planet in The Last
Oh yeah,
Jedi.
that's a good
Like
example.
that's a good example of like trying to ground the story, but they're doing it in such a way that is like
Like you said, ham-fisted. It's like too. It's put okay. If you're gonna push this, how does this relate to? And it actually doesn't.
right.
If you think about it, at the end of the day, the casino didn't really have anything to do with anything other than they found, the guy there, and then he was talking about how, oh, both sides are buying weapons, or
Yeah.
you know,
Which like, did you really need that entire scene in order to yeah, you can
exactly.
have that because you have that same thing in Gundam, right? Everybody's buying weapons from Anaheim, but like
Yeah,
they distilled that into just a quick moment
yeah.
between
It's never
Amuro and the
like,
engineer in Char's counterattack, where it's like, but Anaheim gives weapons to
yeah,
Neo Zeon too, and he goes, well, I mean, that's nothing to do with us in the technical division, like that's
yeah. I love that because I feel like that's grounded in a way because the
yeah,
ignorance, or not even the ignorance, the not needing to know of certain things, you're just going about your day, but it's like underlying
yeah,
all that.
exactly.
That's good
So
stuff.
yeah, I think that's a good call out, and I think that a lot of it too has to do with the characters themselves buying into it, and not
Yeah,
when the characters themselves are kind of in on the joke, it makes it seem inauthentic.
yeah. No, that's true.
Whoa, that's weird. Did you hear that?
No, there is some.
Oh, is there a plane overhead?
No, there's some gardeners.
Oh, okay.
If it's getting too bad, let me know and I can do like a temporary mute.
No, it was it was very very brief.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Um, but yeah, I mean, if you want to go to the Gundam Cafe, this actually is an article from 2021, so this is fairly recent. If you want to be served by Hathaway, and it looks like Amuro,
Shiro,
Quattro.
Amuro, yeah.
Is
Garma
that Shiro
Banadra.
or is that
Shiro, right? From '08 MS Team?
I think it is Shiro. Sorry, it looks more like one of the characters from like I don't know, Age or something like that, but no, I think you're
You could
right.
say that. I'm not a fan of how they drew the faces in '08 MS Team.
Yeah, they definitely made him look a little more cartoony.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously we have the AU milk meal, which see on the real plate it is a pair of dinner rolls. So it is bread. It's just darker in the anime.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So the Argama onboard meal, 1600 yen, about $14. That's not a bad deal for what looks like a steak, some vegetables.
Yeah.
Um, it's eaten by Quattro and Camille in episode 32, unidentified mobile suits. Perfectly replicated here down to the thickness of the meat and the red label on the milk carton. Agreed.
But not the color of the bread.
Not the color of the bread.
Not
They need to
in it.
pop that in the oven for another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The pilot lunch for Garma. I can't believe that Garma is eating a less expensive meal than Quattro and Camille. Being an aristocrat, you would think that he's eating something a little bit richer. But it looks like fries and beef stew. This time it comes with an apple and ginger drink served in a glass that looks just like the ones that Garma and Char used in episode 10, Garma's Fate. So
That
good to
looks good.
know that, he wasn't drinking alcohol before piloting his Gao. He was drinking an apple ginger drink.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good. After the Dakar speech is
Okay.
1,300 yen. Another meal backed by popular demand is the spicy duck and potatoes. Only this time it comes with amaretto orange tea, which is what Quattro and Amuro had after the day of Dakar in
I,
Zeta Gundam.
I've never had duck. Have you?
I'm a big fan of duck. My wife doesn't like it. She says it's a little too greasy, but I like the dark meat chicken.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never had it.
The Earth Federation lunch as served in 8th MS team. So there you go.
Ah,
It
cool.
probably is 8th MS team then. They will recognize this tray of curried rice and vegetables from the opening of 8th MS team, which were immediately rained on. Poor Elidor got. So this is a good vegetarian option, right? Because this is, obviously just
Yeah.
curried rice and veggies. There's no meat. Oh, speaking of which, we have Memories of Hot Dogs. 1200 yen. Contains a hot dog that looks just like the one Banagher ate in episode 1 Day of the Unicorn. The roast beef on the side pays homage to the roast beef eaten by Audrey later in the series, connecting the two characters together in one meal. I am sure that there's nothing suggestive about the fact that they are giving you.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
Moving on, we have the Davo Air Base Officers Mess Hall. So,
Oh, from Hathaway. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So from Hathaway's Flash, we get the Davo Air Base meal, which was eaten by him and looks like
Yeah,
Gigi.
not too many details, right?
No, it doesn't tell you what's in it. It looks like maybe some curried
Salad, chickpeas.
chickpeas, yeah, some
Yeah.
um and maybe some kind of soup.
Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
scrambled egg? Like a single scrambled egg?
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. But I gotta say, it is interesting to think about how detailed the mainline Gundam series have been with food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I love the attention to detail with like the trays and everything, like even the representation of the different like tray types and serving dishes is being represented here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, the airport VIP lounge. There's a Hathaway Noah pineapple ginger ale.
That sounds good.
That actually sounds delicious. And then of course Gigi has a blue curacao and pineapple lemon. Well, I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick up some lemonade, some pineapple juice, and some blue curacao. And I guess my wife
Yeah.
and I are gonna have some blue motorcycles tonight, or some what would you call it if it's a Gundam thing, like a blue Penelope, or a I don't know. Let's come up with some Gundam drinks. I think before the
That's actually a
holidays,
good idea.
we're gonna go through this list. We're gonna put together some Gundam drinks, and yeah, we're gonna have a little Gundam drinking game because I think that would be quite a bit of fun. So that is it. The Gundam costume collection. Oh, looks like they
Some more
already
drinks.
have some drinks here.
And they have I like the sunglasses on Quattros.
Yeah, that is such a nice touch. Oh, they're made of chocolate. It looks like they're like molded chocolate sunglasses. So it looks like there's some kind of frozen blue drink, maybe like a pina colada type thing for Amuro's DJ. Quattro has this, gold and red, some kind of lemon flavored drink. We've got the Garmagao purple sunrise, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure what goes into Hathaway's Kasai Gundam. Looks like just a rum and coke or
Soda.
something like that. Yeah, like
It's just like a Coke.
right.
There's a Coca-Cola.
It's because they know that he's underage and he can't be drinking anything.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's
Banagher's got a unicorn coffee here, which looks like it's got some kind of pineapples in it.
that's cool.
Maybe it's some kind of cider. And then
Oh
I
yeah.
have no idea what Shiro's Ground Gundam
Is it like a
coffee is.
chai tea or
Yeah,
something?
with like some like chocolate or cinnamon on top.
Yeah.
Oh, plus they come with original coasters. Man,
That I would love to try each one, but
yeah.
it would require buying a ticket to go to Japan, getting a hotel. So you got to factor in those costs on top of buying each thing. That's
Right. But they're not super expensive meals and drinks as far as I can tell. I mean,
right. Yeah.
760 yen or 756 yen, that's probably what?
$5.
Yeah, about $5 to $6.
Yeah.
Considering that most like alcoholic beverages here, like if you were to go to a bar and get like a fancy mixed drink, it would probably
Oh,
be what, like $8 to
right.
$12.
There's some places around here lately where it's been like $15 to $20
God, you
to
gotta be
get like
kidding me.
a fancy drink.
So what we're
That's
gonna
great.
do here is we are going to whip out a little
Oh,
Google Translate just because I'm
nice.
curious, right? Okay. So the Amaro Ray drink is a Ramun yogurt
Oh,
milk.
interesting. That's that berry or some fruit that they have that's the G Fuel flavor
Is okay. I
for
was like, that
Gundam.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're consistent.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Quattro's drink is a mango vine rose hip tea.
oh.
Garma's is a yuzu nado soda.
Oh.
Oh, it looks like I missed the bottom part. Get Hathaway's. What did we do before machine translation?
Oh my gosh. Nothing. We would try to hand paste it into the Google and then like word by word, and it would not make any sense.
No, no. There's no literal translation for that.
Yeah.
Um, so Shiro's is a matcha cafe mocha. So
Mm,
so it is a
matcha.
mocha coffee, but has matcha tea on top.
That makes sense.
Um, Benazir's is a beach tea, so it's like a fruity
Oh.
tea. And then yeah, like you said, Hathaway's is a orange mango cola, so it's just a
Oh,
soda.
that's funny. It's cool though. Those are unique. Uh, I'd
But
love to try it.
yeah, these are pretty awesome. I'm really glad that they did this. I mean, this is just amazing.
Yeah. And then yeah, the coasters.
So yeah, I mean that's the subject of food. Can you think of any other examples of food in the Gundam franchise and what they represent?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is the whole with Witch from Mercury and the tomato. I think
Right.
it's almost like too obvious. Like that was more like here, a tomato is going to be the consistent theme for everything, and that's Murine's mom. That's the splat. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was a consistent thread. And but yeah, like you said, I think is less to do with the sort of grounding elements of a story, people eating and more, that was a thematic element that
yeah.
was overarching. Now, in Zeta Gundam, there is one thing that I didn't bring up is the ice cream.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
With
I think that comes up
Sarah.
in both what oh yeah, it was Sarah.
Yeah,
Sarah and Camille sharing an ice cream and what that represents. Like, is there a sort of innocence that's associated
yeah,
with that Shirako is taking away from Sarah? Again, that's probably something that I'll explore a little bit more in detail when we get to that episode of Zeta Gundam. And it comes up again, I think, in Double Zeta, because Judo has that scene where he just like houses the entire ice cream sundae.
Oh, okay. That sounds familiar. Don't remember it, but
But
yeah,
interesting stuff.
it is. It is interesting to see how food is used. Is it a tool to ground the plot at that moment, or is food itself the thematic mechanism? It's different between shows, and I think that's just. But I'm glad we brought this up because it's another thing I can look at when I think, okay, what makes Universal Century work? And it's taking kind of the mundane, normal, everyday things and injecting it into plot discussion or character discussion, and it kind of helps on multiple levels. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same thing when I think about, okay, how do they go to the bathroom? When are they taking bathroom breaks?
right.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing in Demolition Man with the three
yeah,
seashells. Yeah,
yes,
that's
good. That's a good point. Demolition Man again
yeah.
using.
That's one of that's one of the things that makes Demolition Man such a great movie. It's the storytelling aspect of those
Yeah,
mundane elements, like you said. I think
mhm,
that a lot of sci-fi and fantasy storytelling kind of overlook those things that we take for granted.
yeah,
And when you just subtly incorporate them, it makes the universe feel whole. It makes it feel more believable because, yeah, people do have to go to the bathroom. People do have to eat. But
yeah,
what is the story trying to tell you about how they eat, what they eat, who they eat with, all these
yeah,
different things that are associated with that. And again, I went into this thinking it was just going to be kind of like a joke topic for Thanksgiving, but I really do think that we have a habit of taking these types of meme topics and expounding them into these really thoughtful discussions
Yeah.
about the elements of powerful storytelling.
And I think repeatedly it is showing, to me at least, that Universal Century Gundam is very deliberate in its storytelling. It's why it is, out of all movies, TV shows, storytelling in general, Universal Century Gundam is high up there because it is being thoughtful about all these elements. Not only the story that has to be told, but how do regular humans interact with the story being told?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they do it in a very genuine way. There's a I think that sometimes it's possible to do this to use these sorts of mundane elements of the world, but you do it in an insincere way. It feels contrived, like we were saying about like the casino scene in
Yeah.
Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It feels like it was for the scene of Luke Skywalker drinking the whale milk. That
Yeah. That was
felt
for shock value at that moment.
right. It
Yeah.
just felt like an inside joke among the storytellers. It didn't feel like it didn't tell us something about Luke Skywalker's character.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when he's drinking blue milk on the Lars homestead
Oh,
in the
yeah.
first episode, there's something subtle there because like we said, there's something about drinking milk, eating ice cream. Those kind of represent a juvenile sense of innocence, right? Typically milk is a kid's drink. It's not a
Yeah.
man's drink. And so
Right.
when you have this young boy on a farm drinking milk, you're like, this guy's not going to be the hero of the story.
Yeah.
But through the course of events as they unfold, he's forced to mature and grow up.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And yeah, I think I've learned a lot from this discussion. It is looking at those mundane things and how they're being implemented that will raise a storytelling and make something not seem contrived. Like when I think about the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, like even the last one, like I liked how action packed and all the stuff was going on. But then if I kind of take a step back, it's like that was more of just like a long trailer where it's
Yeah,
just trying to show you all the beats. It's not like I felt like I was a part of this world for 2 hours.
that's
Yeah.
true. And that's the important of, I think, quiet time in
Yeah.
media, right? Like you can't just do action, action, action. There has to be like these lulls in the action that allow the moments to breathe and
Mhm.
unpack. And I mean, even a movie like Demolition Man, which, obviously is a 90s action movie, there's still these moments of like
There's a lot of moments where it's just it's Sylvester
just
Stallone
character.
interacting with the world and the characters,
Yeah.
not him just punching all the time. And yeah, I appreciate that
I
a
mean,
lot.
heck, even the scenes where it's Simon Phoenix interacting
Yeah.
with the world and you get to see like, you know,
The
the
crazy guy. Yeah.
different types of characters because
Yeah.
obviously, for Stallone it's an isekai. Does it count as an isekai?
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, it is pretty much, yeah.
um if it were an anime, it would be like that time I woke up 70 years in the future.
And had to fight my old, uh, what am I trying to say? My old enemy? No, there's a name. My old arch
Nemesis?
rival or
Yeah,
something like that.
rival.
Yeah.
Um, but when Phoenix interacts with this world, you see his manipulative side come
Yeah,
out, and it's like, well, how can I twist this to fit my needs? And
exactly.
so it's like not only are you getting to experience a little bit about the world, but you're getting a little bit of that character development too. Like,
It's almost like for Simon Phoenix, he's, taking advantage with his skill set of what to do with all this craziness, where Sylvester Stallone's almost like getting beaten by it or surprised by it. He's like, "What is going on with all this?" And that's
that's a very
cool.
cool way to look at it. It's like, one man is overcoming the world, and one man is being overcome by the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what helps the protagonist grow, and really show the antagonist's side. Yeah, I can't believe from Gundam food discussion we can really discover how deep Demolition Man is.
Some of these like older titles, they're just gifts that keep on giving. We need to start recording bonus episodes where we talk about non-Gundam things, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
because I would
There'd be
love to
a
do a
lot
scene
to
by scene
dissect.
breakdown of Demolition Man with you. That would be.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, that said, I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap up early because I think we've kind of beat this topic to death. But am I forgetting anything? Is there? No?
No, no, that was a good this went by pretty quick for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's always fun when we can, explore one of these topics and really get
Yeah.
down into the weeds and explore some of the sort of untapped potential and some of the things that I think are the reason why we enjoy Gundam as much as
Yeah,
we do.
exactly.
Because a lot of people kind of default to like giant robots, like smash things, and it's like there's a
Yeah.
lot of that too, but I think that there's a lot to appreciate.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't know what to tell someone. They're like, "Well, why do you like it so much?" It's like, yeah, like you said, I could say the giant robot smashing things, but I also can't say, "Oh, the way they use food is." And people be like, "What?
Right, yeah, that just sit down for an hour. Let me talk to you about roast
Food
beef
in Gundam?"
and and no. But yeah, again, if you haven't checked out the video on the Alice system from Adam,
Mm,
definitely go check that out now. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for the Gundam Explained show. If
that's
you
right.
guys are around, I know that obviously the day is going to be busy for a lot of you guys.
Yeah,
But we're going to be around. So
and I think we already talked. We're gonna do it earlier
yeah, we'll
than.
go earlier in the day, so
Yeah,
hopefully, we won't interfere with your football time or your eating.
yeah,
Um, but if
yep,
not, there's always the podcast goes up Friday. So,
yep. That's right. Yeah,
but yeah, thank you for joining me today, Adam, and
no
thank
problem.
you guys for chatting it up with us. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Dan Vince, for sponsoring this episode. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hope you guys have a wonderful and safe one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get all your Christmas shopping done this week.
Oh yeah, good idea.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
All right, see y'all.